Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is T. If you're new here, I really do hope everyone's day is going well. Before we start with today's shenanigans, because yes, shenanigans will be partaken in, we gotta get a couple things straight. I am not the biggest fan of the Kardashian-Jenner family. Surprise. And odds are, if you're an avid viewer of this channel, neither are you. And no matter what your reasoning for that is your prerogative. I don't need you to explain yourself. However, it seems like whenever we get to critiquing this particular group of women, suddenly y'all's feminism, out the window. Your sexual expression respecting, anti-slut shaming rhetoric that likely brought you over to my little corner of YouTube to begin with, just gone. All across the internet, I see the adherence to this unspoken rule that as long as you can prove that you have been deeply offended by a public figure, you are justified in unleashing the same vitriol onto them that you would otherwise condemn. Today, it not go so. No, not now, no, not never. I actually fought myself on whether or not I wanted to say that because I was like, these people grown, like they don't need me to read the rules out loud. And then I revisited the comments of my hypersexuality video. No, because imagine me so eager and ready to share with you all the second part of the video that y'all been beating down my door for, just to find out that people was in the comments doing the exact same thing I said we was not about to do. So let me be Swarovski crystal clear with you all. The goal of today's video, or very likely series, is to recount and critique what I feel is the timeline and journey that led us to the Kardashian-Jenners as we know them today, and theorize on what their legacy will be. Of course, not everything I say today will be roses and daisies. Of course, I'm gonna have more than a couple remarks of disapproval. You know, of course, I'm gonna even crack a couple jokes, like, come on. But my feminism does not stop at women I don't like. And I really encourage yours to have the same rectitude. The truth is, whether we like it or not, the Kardashians are icons. When the era of Instagram is long gone and we start sharing our survival stories, that family will likely be at the epicenter of conversation because their presence in pop culture will be studied as a historical phenomenon. See, because I know some people, possibly a few of you watching this video right now, have this weird sense of superiority where they feel like they're, too good to keep up with the Kardashians, so to speak. I am sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not possible. And that's why we're here today. It's like you can't keep up with pop culture and not keep up with the Kardashians, because even for someone like myself who has never followed or interacted with the Kardashians or anyone closely associated with them, still can't evade their impact. So yes, historical phenomenon that, whether we like it or not, deserves to be studied with a lot of seriousness. But I also hope that a huge area of study will be how in their preservation of consumer obsession and just overall cultural relevancy, they recognize the gold mine that is Black human existence. PhD level studied it and committed themselves completely to synthesizing it and commodifying it. Now, appropriation is nothing new, but it is relatively touch and go. Every now and again, we'll see a non-Black person come through with a questionable hairstyle, perhaps a convenient wardrobe change, accent change, a spray tan that was a little bit too deep. But then once they get called out for it, which is typically an intentional part of the marketing strategy, they profit off the outrage and then they go about their business. But we have never seen a person, a family really, be so committed to appealing to the Black gaze, the Black male gaze specifically, that they would treat their bodies as malleable projects, subjecting them to modifications on the whim of cultural demand, and subsequently reshaping beauty standards across all races. Not only have we never seen a family do this, but we've also never had someone play in our faces this badly about it and remain so unfazed at the harm they've done, even as they couple up with Black partners and even give birth to Black children. But now, as these women get older and the sensation is wearing off, we are in an era where the Kardashian-Jenner focus has seemingly shifted from relevancy to legacy. These last few years of their public image, because yes, I do believe that it's on a decline, is crucial in solidifying what they will be remembered for. Which is why it is no coincidence that Kim Kardashian has gone from looking like this to this. Just as this image represents more than a simple flaunting of her figure, And this image has always been more than her showing off simple sun-kissed skin. This picture, with her choice of decade aesthetic, represents more than a simple ad campaign. And this picture, with her curves far less visible, her choice of hair color, the American flag behind her, it represents more than just a magazine spread. Y'all, stop the press. I think the day has finally come. White women want to be white again. Oh!
Gotta catch another fight. I have a bottom, make them want to bite.
Because this has been such a long time coming. Don't worry. I'm gonna let them. I am so gonna let them. But not so fast. Before you go, today I want to take the time to examine and really long form exemplify the stealing from blackness to seeking legitimacy in whiteness pipeline, because it is far more meticulous and insidious than we give it credit for. So yeah, I want to talk about that and of course a couple other things before ending with what this could possibly mean for the future of popular fashion, beauty, and cultural exchange in a post-Kardashian world. Chapter 1. Beguiling the Black Male Gaze. But first, a quick legal disclaimer. You know, we are not in Kansas anymore. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is a commentary-assisted timeline of which I have developed myself based on research, yes, but is equally, if not more, supported by my own personal recollection of events that I lived through as a consumer of pop culture. This is riddled in opinion, subjectivity, and speculation, and not in any way meant to represent hardcore facts. I can't believe I'm out here kissing ass just so I don't get sued. In this chapter, I'll be using the term black male gaze a lot because it is important to identify who to blame. I'm kidding. I highly doubt white women woke up one day and said, you know what? I want to look like black women because I really like how black women look. No, they said, I want to look like black women because black men, aka the dominant subgroup of the race that pop culture is consistently modeled after, like how black women look. And oddly enough, they really like the look of black women on anyone other than black women. Now, the journey of the black male gaze, specifically that of American black men, is... You know, I live in a thesaurus, but today I don't really have the adjective to describe this feeling. Just know it be making my belly hurt. At one point in America, the black male gaze was criminal, especially when that gaze was laid upon white women. Sometimes it costed black males their lives. Even when it was only an accusation. I mean, look at the death of Emmett Till. So how, in the span of less than 100 years, did we jump from black males being killed for their sexual attraction to white women, because that attraction was seen as so vile and so dangerous, to white women actively seeking out that sexual attraction? My guess? Pop culture, of course. In part. From this point forward in the video, anytime I refer to the black male gaze, I specifically mean the gaze of black men of the Western diaspora who are embedded in and heavily influenced by the culture of hip-hop. But who twisting up their tongue every 5 minutes to say that? So let me just be clear that when I say this, I really mean this. The black male gaze typically celebrates features like full breasts, a small waist to wide hip ratio, tan but not too dark skin, so on and so forth. And as we've seen, that image of beauty has been positioned as a standard in pop culture for at least the past 5 years. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, T, aren't you the one who's constantly saying that beauty standards are modeled after whiteness? So how do you explain this? Whiteness will always be a safe house in terms of desirability and respectability for just about everyone. No matter what race you are, if you can appeal to a traditional white standard, whether that's by way of looks, complexion, fashion, speech patterns, you good. Trust me, you are good. You're never losing out on a job for that. Never having your intelligence questioned for that. But every so often, pop culture wants a remix. I mean, it's right there in the definition. Pop culture can be defined as noun. Culture based on the taste of ordinary people rather than an educated elite. Right? Like, go somewhere with that definition, because you cussing me out. Educated elite. Educate this dick. Whatever, the educated elite loves a good white standard, but like I said, pop culture loves a good switch up every now and again. And in 2007, when the Kardashians first began to emerge, there was an opening in pop culture to turn away from that pale skin, blonde hair, super slim image that we were used to seeing. In part because the emblems of that image, aka the it girls of the time, were meeting their demise back to back to back right before our very eyes. In February of 2007, Britney Spears shaved her head in a very public meltdown, which I presume gave way to a 13-year-long conservatorship, which the poor lady just escaped last November. Also in February of 2007, former Playmate and icon Anna Nicole Smith died after an accidental OD. In May, Paris Hilton went to jail for 45 days for violation of her probation of a previous DUI charge. And by November of 2007, Lindsay Lohan had been arrested on drug and alcohol charges 3 times. To be fair, I must include that many things contributed to the public downfall of these women. It's not just that they were white, blonde, and thin. And I should probably specify that I mean thin at their peak. Because someone like Anna Nicole Smith, for example, she had a weight gain journey that was very, very public. And she was scrutinized for that in every which way possible.
I'm saying you're tall, you're big, you gotta weigh 80 more pounds than Benji.
I'm saying you're wrong.
Prove it.
I'm not gonna get on the scale.
Get on the stupid weigh machine.
But you're way off.
I'll show you my penis if
The tabloids were also at one of its most vicious peaks, like in history. There was an opportunity in pop culture for a new image to be pedestaled. And when the Kim K. Ray J sex tape was released, not only do I believe it was interesting for pop culture to be introduced to a white woman with features that were almost the exact opposite of other socialites of the time, I believe the reaction from black men is what really set it off. So, back to the black male gaze and how I believe it plays into this sex tape. So obviously the basic, it is a common black male fantasy to be sexually involved with a white woman. Like that part of it created a spectacle in and of itself. But additionally, okay, because this is gonna sound really, really harsh. I do not think Ray J was ever that nigga. That's not even meant to be mean. But when we found out that Ray J, of all people, was on a sex tape with a white woman, which again creates spectacle in and of itself, but to actually see the type of white woman that she was. This was not the Jessica Simpson, Britney Spears that we was used to seeing. Oh no, this woman had tan skin, dark hair, and is that a booty? Trouble was underway the second niggas realized she had a butt. Y'all are so simple. And you know, like, why? For real, why? Kim K's first butt, like the first butt that pop culture first became obsessed with, it was not that big. Like, y'all was dragging it. I mean, everybody. Just like Angelina Jolie's lips. Neither of those bodily features were really that big, but I don't know, like very on theme for this video. A black woman's typical is a white woman's metaphysical. Suddenly, it defies space and time, and the world has just never seen anything like it. Now let's revisit the timeline. The great year was 2007. It was a tumultuous year for white women, specifically blonde, skinny, pale white women at the forefront of pop culture. Then the Kim K. Ray J tape dropped in February of 2007, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians premiered on October of 2007 on the E! Network. Alright, so 8 months. We're looking at a time span of 8 months. She went from relatively unknown, a popular +1 at best, to sensational enough to getting her own reality show with her entire family within the span of 8 months, just to bring you back to how people was fiending over this tape. Now the E! Network. Here's a reminder of the types of reality shows that the E! Network is responsible for. The Simple Life, featuring Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. I love that show, I really did. But honestly, you know, I love any show where young women just get to be idiots with their best friends. Because that's what we're really supposed to be doing at this age. Writing essays for a living is cool and all, but I mean, I feel like if given the opportunity, I could really fuck that up too. I'm just saying. Okay, what else? The Girls Next Door. Also, the Anna Nicole show. Y'all, white people, white women, the new money aesthetic. So if your target audience for your up-and-coming reality show was white women who like to watch other white women be beautiful and rich and detached from reality, E! Network was like, there was no other network out there better for you than the E! Network. So the Kardashians really lucked out with that one. Another thing that really helped set them up for the consumer obsession that they have built an empire off of, by the time of their show, the very first iPhone was almost a year old, and that made media mobile, literally. Now, obviously, other phones existed at the time where you could like surf the internet, but let's be for real. Have you ever tried to surf the internet on a flip phone? You better hope and pray that shit don't just fucking explode in your hand. Like, that shit would internally combust you open up the internet. Oh, but with the iPhone, it wasn't really like that. Media became portable and could easily travel with the consumer wherever they went. You didn't have to be reading a magazine or sitting behind a computer screen to catch up on pop culture. With the iPhone, you could do it anywhere, anytime. And that level of visibility, while I'm sure it was extremely uncomfortable for celebrities like Britney Spears or Paris Hilton, who, like we discussed, were really going through it at the time, for celebrities like the Kardashian-Jenners, who were on the rise, this was very advantageous. Fast forward a couple years, Keeping Up with the Kardashians is a huge hit. Year by year, white women are falling deeper and deeper in love with this family who is detached from reality, but still in many ways relatable in their family dynamic. Okay, so with this absolutely genius structure, suddenly everything the Kardashians touch turn to gold, and it becomes the new white woman standard of how to do things. In hair, there was a rise in curtain bangs and Kardashian curls. In beauty, once closely kept secrets in the professional makeup industry, intense highlighting and contouring, as seen on the Kardashians, became a standard of how to do makeup. And I do want to be fair in mentioning that neither the invention nor the popularization of those makeup techniques can be solely credited to the Kardashians. I am not sure who exactly invented highlight and contour, but as far as popularization of the technique goes, a lot of that can be credited to the OG beauty community right here on YouTube. But in the same token, the beauty community also planted roots in influencer culture, which by and large uses the Kardashian-Jenners as a blueprint. So it's like all interconnected. Nevertheless, if the Kardashians endorsed it, white women were doing it. And eventually, like by this stage in the game, a lot of women, all women. So of course, as this family continued to appeal to their initial target audience of desirability, which was black men, and they modified their faces and bodies in doing so, before you knew it, we were in the midst of a lip filler and Brazilian butt lift epidemic. Chapter 2. Costume multiracialism and the preservation of whiteness. In Khadija Mbowe's video, The Feminine Urge to Internalize the Male Gaze, Unpacking Desirability, Khadija talks about the male gaze fixating on fragments of a woman's body. Whether that's fragments of her form, like focus on her cleavage or her legs, or it's literal fragments of time, you know, capturing that slow motion walk down the street, or capturing a woman in slow motion doing mundane things like washing a car. No matter what it is, the male gaze does not encapsulate a woman in her fullness. And real quick, do we have any film majors or fanatics in the comments who can help me out? Because I saw someone make a video that was basically saying they hate when people apply terminology created specifically for dynamics in film to real life. I know that the term male gaze originated as a film term, but art imitates life and vice versa. The male gaze in cinema encapsulates a sensationalized view of women's bodies that many men in real life already have. But if we take that term out of its cinematic context and put it back in real life, you know, where it first drew inspiration from, is that inaccurate? And if so, what would be a better replacement? I'm genuinely curious. In the case of the Kardashian-Jenners, much of the major shifts in their public images were initiated using the same mechanics. through ad campaigns and Instagram posts and various magazine covers at very specific moments in time. They seemingly encouraged fixation on particular parts of their bodies. And they coordinated when they wanted that fixation to begin, how long they wanted it to last, and what they wanted it to represent. I know we like to think that the Kardashian-Jenner empire is held up solely by the obsession with Kim Kardashian's butt, but I mean, let's be honest, when's the last time that was really the topic of conversation? The sensation of that did eventually wear off, but then it was just pushed to another area of another sister's body. Maybe Khloe's butt, or Khloe's bantu knots, Kim's braids, Kylie's lips. Kylie Jenner getting her lips done single-handedly changed the trajectory of her life, career, and legacy. Even nepotism, being blood related to the most popular and sought-after socialite in the world, even that couldn't give her enough exposure to secure her own independent image that people actually cared about. Prior to the lips, Kylie Jenner was buried, and I mean buried, under her sisters. 'Twas not until she got her lips done and was subsequently exalted by black men that shit really started to pop off for her. And of course, it would be really convenient to believe, and I think even Kylie would like to believe, that the exponential growth she saw in her popularity was just because people were interested in the baby sister finally. Like, people just took up an interest in her and her journey and her experience. It was very organic and natural. And maybe that's why she lied about it for so long. I don't think it's too far-fetched to assume that she too wanted to feel like people's sudden interest in her was for more than just this one simple, superficial cosmetic change. But similar to Kim's butt or Khloe's bantu knots, the sole reason that these images even got the attention that they did was not because the body parts individually were so sensational, not to me at least, but because these body parts were traditionally non-white, yet still placed on white bodies, and those bodies weren't just fully falling apart. You know, I don't think we give enough credit to how unbelievable the state of homogenized, ambiguous beauty actually is. I mean, seriously. For my entire life, make sure no lipstick is on my teeth. For my entire life, I've always understood that different groups of people look different ways. And I don't feel like I'm super alone in that understanding. So now that we're at a place in time where we're seeing white women who identify as white and we don't confuse them for anything other than white, but they also walking around with like Pan-African butts and Asian eye shapes and Middle Eastern facial structure. It's like, it's incredible in the fact that it's unbelievable, and it's a huge center of fascination, understandably so. And that's for all women walking around looking like them, not just for the Kardashian-Jenner specifically, but for them specifically. I think there's also fascination in what this means for their specific place in humanity and alleged strategy that they have undertaken that I don't necessarily believe the people who have tried to look like them were privy to. This fragmentation of the black female body and the attachment of certain parts onto their white bodies, especially at the gradual rate that we witnessed it occur, ensured that their bodies still maintained its whiteness. And I know that might seem pretty obvious, like duh, even if you put lipstick on a bunny, it's still a bunny. But no, this could have gone a completely different way. Had these women introduced themselves to us with like the big ass, the big lips, the braids, the deeply tanned skin, they would have entered the public space already ambiguous. Dare I say, already socialized as being of color. But entering as white women, no doubt about it, white women who just interchange black parts, was crucial because it gave them the ability to benefit from all of the desirability, fascination, and exotification that the black female body is typically met with, without having to sacrifice the adoration, respect, and just overall humanity that the white body is met with. This is unsettling. Unsettling to say the least. Even more so because this strategy, while fairly successful for them, I believe could only have been executed by them. We talked a bit in the last chapter about how even before cosmetic procedures were what the Kardashian-Jenner image was known for, they were still a huge source of inspiration in beauty. But also, like I said, once we did get to the noticeable body changes portion of their journey, that did reflect in popular beauty standards as well. Now, I know that sounds like I'm agreeing with a very common notion that the evolution of the Kardashian-Jenners images pressures women and girls to strive for perfection by means of dangerous, sometimes life-threatening means, but I'm not. I don't agree with that fully. So yes, the number of BBLs and lip filler cases have shot up in the past decade. In 2020, there were a reported 400,000 BBL cases. And we'd be silly not to recognize, in the very least, the coincidence, if not just flat out make the connection. But I am not comfortable blaming the Kardashians for this one. Personally, I have always hated BBLs for their risk, and just like plastic surgery in general, for their risk factor. But if I'm gonna just keep it at that, wow. Do people still say that? If I'm gonna just keep it a buck. My aversion to plastic surgery is not just because I think it's unsafe. Like, I have a deeper rooted bias and I really need to check that. That's why I try to tread especially lightly with this topic, because I know that it's fully on me. Like, it's no one else's fault that I hold this bias. It's on me. Because the amount of off-the-wall things I do and have done to ensure that I appear a certain way in this world, even if it's, you know, things like dyeing my hair different colors or getting tattoos, I'm still putting something at risk for the sake of my appearance. So I ain't got no choice but to change, or in the very least confront this bias, because it's not only hypocritical, but it's harmful. On this channel, I've spoken at length at the measures women will go to climb up the beauty hierarchy. And typically my focus is on, you know, that they want to make money, they want to get more followers, they want to get more attention, whatever. But it's not just that. Like Julie said, and she put it so well, it's also because they want to achieve bodies that are worthy of love. We call this the BBL epidemic, not just because it's reserved for models and influencers. Daycare teachers got BBLs, nurses got BBLs. Any kind of person from any occupation is eligible to have a BBL. So it's plausible that some people have undergone this in hopes of achieving an image that, when perceived, computes to the other that their body is worthy of respect, worthy of love, even if the other who they are trying to convince is their own reflection. So that's why I could never blame the Kardashians for making beauty standards as extreme as they are, because I feel the true harm in BBLs lies more so in the principle, not the action. Historically, there has been no limit to women's willingness to suffer for the sake of desirability. We saw it in the 90s with heroin chic, women forming voluntary eating disorders so that they could achieve the look of models in the 90s. In the Victorian era, there were corsets. I mean, like, think about the Victorian era. There was so much shit to be worried about. The kids was eating bread with mildew and drinking alcohol for fun. Yet, corsets were a thing, you know? Made of animal bone and metal, it stifled women's movement, restricted their breathing. Very similar to waist trainers of today. And some historians even describe it as a torture device. But women still wore it, even during pregnancy. So you see, it doesn't matter what health complication, pain, or discomfort is at risk. Women have historically been willing to bend, mold, and shape themselves into whatever they feel will make them most satisfactory in the eyes of men. But I'm starting to believe it's not so cut and dry. I'm really starting to believe that there's something else, and this is a raw theory, by the way. This has not been researched. It's really just something that I've observed, and I'm taking a relatively wild guess here. But sometimes I wonder if where we are in the culture of cosmetic procedures has evolved into less of a response to the male gaze and more of a homosocial bonding activity amongst women. I'm wondering if some women get these procedures not because they want sexual attention from men or because they were ever denied male attention to begin with, but because they want to be socially classified with specific women. I think about Erica Banks when she caught heat for essentially saying that if a woman doesn't look a certain way, if she not thick enough, we know what that means. She don't want to be seen in the club with her. She could be the nicest, sweetest person ever. And yes, she could come, what did she say? She could come to the screening. She could come to the party. But the club, she can't go. She gotta wait in the line with the rest of the ugly bitches. Erica was one of the first people I've heard say something to that effect so blatantly. But women have been saying this for a while. And society has been responding as if it agrees with those sentiments. Social media especially, it loves a good pack of desirable women. I remember when, who was it? Normani, Ryan Destiny, Lori Harvey, and I think the other person was Jordan Woods. Literally the most random socialite omelet ever. Who knows? Maybe they were friends all along, but okay. I think they went on a vacation or something, and the way I could not escape that selfie they took together on my Explore page, the way I could not escape people reposting that picture, because people love a nice, attractive girl gang. And it's something about a beautiful woman surrounding herself with other beautiful women that elevates her social status even further, which is exactly why the BBL epidemic and giving into the pressure of beauty standards is not just reserved for regular ass, insecure ass, lacking attention ass women. I think a great example is the state of female rap. I mean, women rappers be the first ones, the main ones, to be on that like whole nonchalant, I don't care what nobody thinks of me. These bitches follow me. I don't follow them. I don't care what nobody gotta say about me. And guess what? Almost all of them got BBLs too. So it's like, you care enough, girl. You care enough. We all care to some capacity. And given where we are in the state of beauty, one of the normal ways of acting on that concern is by getting major surgery. And even though extreme, it's still very accessible. So it makes me wonder what's gonna be the next step for celebrities like Kim Kardashian, whose bodies at one point were so exclusive and so elite, but are just now pretty ordinary. I wonder what that must feel like when you were first exalted for having such a unique look, but now everybody looks like you, and you look like everybody too. Chapter 3, Kim K Face. Kim Kardashian's image, and I mean all of it, her wealth, her grandeur, her face, is easily replicable, and we know this because we've seen it. In the same way that she took granular aspects of Black women's images, non-Black women, and truthfully the popular standard of beauty as a whole, did the exact same thing to her. It is so normal for people to devote themselves to looking just like Kim Kardashian. I mean, it's so many plastic surgeons have come out and say, literally, when people walk into my office for a rhinoplasty, for a chin this, a nose that, an eyebrow, whatever, they come in with a picture of Kim Kardashian in hand. And I wonder if it's because her looks are so allegedly manufactured, why it's so easy to replicate. You know, that dark, voluminous hair, dark eyes, dark brows, full but not over dramatic lips, thin nose, sculpted jaw, and then a body that purposefully looks contorted. Here's the thing, I don't think any of us have or deserve the authority to say whether or not this should or shouldn't be happening. But we can, in the very least, look around us and acknowledge that the state of beauty is extreme. Like, no matter where you land on your spectrum of acceptance or satisfaction that this is going on, it's extreme. Shut up! Like, I know the world don't stop the second I turn my camera on, but like, why does somebody have to have an emergency when I'm recording my video? Okay, I think this homogenized look is kind of like a whirlwind in a way, in which everything within, my titties is going, everything within that whirlwind has blended together under the same common goal, which is that specific look. Because it's so powerful, think of a tornado. Because it's so powerful and it's moving so fast, anyone who even gets remotely close to it, like even just out of curiosity, gets sucked in. And even if you're not super close to it, you can feel its pull from miles and miles away. So then it brings in the question, when such a mass group decides to devote themselves to achieving that look, with so much at stake, societal pressure, money, survivability, social standing, all these things that directly impact a person's quality of life. Can we say with certainty that that decision was made by way of their own volition? Can we even speak to free will under those circumstances? I don't know. I really don't know, but it is something I've been thinking about. Anyway, the instruments that helped develop Kim K's image that were once very exclusive are now public. And now the image is ordinary. Being a white woman whose image is pedestaled by hip-hop is ordinary. The white American relationship with hip-hop is on a decline. Pablo the Don on TikTok has a great take on this, where they essentially explain that white people tend to look at hip-hop as a phase, like a trend, whereas we, you see how it's not rubbing off? We think of it as a lifestyle. Hip-hop is culture. It's not just songs, it's not just catchphrases. And for the people who are embedded in the culture, it appears in how they walk, how they talk, how they dance, how they consume other forms of media. Whereas when it is just a phase for you, of course, there will come a time where you're just like, throw the whole shit away. Pablo also mentioned that hip-hop has lost its shares consistently in recent years. Now, according to Billboard, that is for a few reasons. I'm gonna go ahead and link the article in the description. Hip-hop is still a powerhouse. It's not going nowhere no time soon, but according to Billboard, it is on a steady decline in terms of market share. So what does that mean? It means that the dominant force within the culture, black men and their sneaky little gaze, it's not worth what it once was. At least not to the people who were trying to exploit that gaze. So the racial metamorphosis that we all witnessed this family undergo in the past decade, the fixation on Kim's traditionally non-white butt, which from the very first episode of the very first season of that reality show was positioned as a centerpiece of spectacle and profit. So if the well runs dry, what the hell does that family, specifically Kim, look like trying to replenish it? It's on to the next. And what is the one well that never, ever runs dry? What is the one aesthetic that will never cost you a job, will never cost you legitimacy? No matter what race you are, if you can appeal to a
traditional white standard,
you good. Trust me, you are good. I came across this article called What the Kardashians Reveal About Race by Ren Ellis Nera. Awesome read. Everyone should check it out. But this quote in particular stood out to me. It says, quote, "This all-American, foundationally non-black family gathers around a shared hearth. Kim Kardashian's physicality, her body. With her body, she plays with flesh, but never risks a disfiguration of self that would make her not white. Never risks placing herself beyond the legal and social agreement that she is indeed possessed of humanity." This really encapsulates what I was saying earlier. Through the sanctuary of whiteness, this family is not a group of vain women who seek validation through cosmetic procedures. Oh no. They are just women who are dedicated to their fitness and the upkeep of their appearance, which is their biggest asset. Through the sanctuary of whiteness, these women do not meet the stigma of money-hungry baby mamas. No, they are hard-working mothers, making things happen for their family empire. Through the sanctuary of whiteness, they are human beings, worthy of forgiveness, compassion, and vindication. That's why they preserved it, and that's why they are returning to it. But now that they, or should I say Kim, is on the other side, there's a new game to play, a new model of classism, a new model of inaccessibility, a new aggressively sought after but seldom achievable standard of which to prove herself legitimate. And oh, it is so interesting to witness her go through this audition, so to speak. And we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about her new image, her new body, her new fashion, her new political involvement. We gotta talk about all of that and how it reaffirms the whiteness that she and her family only thinly clung to. That will all be discussed in part 2. Thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Super huge thank you to my lovely patrons. Be sure to hit me up at patreon.com/tnoir for exclusive videos, extended videos, included an extended version of this. Be sure to leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, however you're feeling today, and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.